So today we're going to talk about simplifying algebraic expressions that contain both fractions and decimals. So we're going to see how to work through these expressions when they have either decimals to convert to fractions or fractions to convert to decimals. So this first example has 1/3 plus 0.27, which is 27 hundredths, and if you remember, we can just place 27 over 100, and the reason why is, well, when you just say the words 27 hundredths, you're saying exactly how you want to build the fraction, 27 hundredths out of 100. So you can rewrite the fraction as such, and then find the common denominator. Once you find the common denominator, you can then simplify the problem. Remember, you should answer it in simplest form, meaning that you need to reduce the fraction, and the fraction can either be improper or a mixed number. So the next example is the same problem, but now I want to simplify it using decimals. So if you look in the first example again, we converted 0.27 to 27 hundredths, found a common denominator, and simplified. In the example 2, we're going to take 1/3 and change it to a decimal. Now there's a problem with that. You may catch it right away, but let's take a look. So 1/3 is about or approximately equal to 0.33. Remember, it's 0.3 repeating. In other words, it's 0.3 with an overbar. So it goes on forever. But I'm only going to go to 2 decimal places. Now the reason why we're only going to go to 2 decimal places is, well, look at the rest of the problem. You have 1/3 plus 27 hundredths. Now that 27 hundredths is the key. If there's only 2 decimal places in your problem, that's as far as you need to go in your repeating decimal. So remember, a repeating decimal, a rational number, you can rewrite it so that it is approximately equal to 0.33 in this case. So then we rewrite the fraction as 0.33 plus 0.27, that's what we had before, and we get an approximate answer. Notice how I've answered the question. The question is not an exact answer anymore, which is why converting this type of problem to decimals is not necessarily as accurate as example 1, converting 0.27 to 27 hundredths. So I may ask you in your homework or in a problem to simplify an expression using decimals only, or simplify an expression using fractions only. Just know that if you're converting a fraction to a decimal, and that decimal has to repeat, then you won't get an accurate answer. You'll get an approximate answer. Alright, let's do something a little bit more difficult. Example 3. Now we have a blend of things going on here. Remember, order of operations means we've got to do the multiplication part first. So we're going to multiply first and then add. But I'm not going to tell you what's best to use. So you've got to figure out, what format should we use? Fractions or decimals? Well, when you look at this problem, you notice that the first number is a fraction. The second number is a decimal. Remember, those are factors because you multiply them together. And then it adds to a decimal that's in an exponent. Well, all 3 of those together, it might be easier if we flip the one fraction into a decimal, especially once we realize that that fraction is terminating. So we look here, if I divide 4 divided by 5, I know that I'll get 0.8. So I can then convert that 0.8 into, convert the 4/5 into the 0.8 into a decimal format. So I have 0.8 times 1.35 plus 0.5 squared. And remember, 0.5 squared is just 0.5 times 0.5, or 5/10 times 5/10, which then changes to 1.08 plus 0.25. So 1 and 8 100ths plus 25 100ths, which then we don't need to change back into fractions because it doesn't ask us specifically to answer in this format. If it does, then you will have to change it back. If you decide to use decimals and you need to write an answer as a fraction, then you have to change it back. But usually it won't ask you how to do, or which format you need to use. It'll just let you choose whatever one's best. So you need to use your brain and figure out which is the least amount of work that I have to do, and which is the most accurate answer. So if you get to a point where you're converting fractions into decimals and those fractions are repeating, that's not going to be as accurate as we talked about before. So maybe the choice to move everything back into fractions, or to try a different approach is wiser. But let's finish up with this problem. So I have 1.08 plus 0.25. I get 1.33, and that's my answer. It's an exact answer because there was no approximations necessary. And then let's see. A couple things we want to remember. Number one, all terms in the expression must be in the same format. All terms in the expression must be in the same format. So in other words, all must be fractions or all must be decimals before you can combine them. So first, convert everything you need to get into one format and then combine them through addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. And number two, if you can convert a fraction to a repeating decimal, you need to use the approximation. And you need to approximate your answer using the decimal places allowed. Remember, if there's two decimals in the rest of the problem, like this example 2, then you need to make sure that you only use 2 decimals in your approximate value, like we did with this 1/3. We said it was approximately 0.33. And then the answer to the entire algebraic expression, when simplified, is approximated as well. All right, that's it. Keep going with the Prezi. Good job.